Hey D&D fam, I'm Quick.
And I'm Lee, and you're listening to
Divas and Ducats. So what is a diva? I think divas get a bad rep, but to me, diva is all about the attitude.
As for ducats, it's your finances, your assets, Skrilla, guap, your coin. We're talking all things with the potential to affect your pockets.
And while we're attorneys by trade, we are divas by choice. Divas and Ducats is for edutainment purposes.
Y'all, we are not Series 511 or 703 professionals. This does not create a financial advisor or attorney-client relationship. The views expressed here are solely our opinions and the opinions of our guests.
It's just our opinions, y'all. Okay, divas, let's talk Ducats.
Hey, D&D fam, we're back.
Yes, welcome back.
And we are doing our dating potential series, talking with real people's perspective, right?
Yes.
We thought it would not be fair to discuss this just from the single woman's lens and didn't want to come off angry or bitter.
Right.
So we have a series, as we've let you all know. We have a married man, we have single men, and married women this series. So we are excited to get into it. So did you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, so we have with us Mr. Maurice Griffin.
Yes.
And he is with us from, where is he?
Kernersville, North Carolina, right outside of Winston-Salem.
Yes, and so we're going to have you on and have him on for our dating potential, the married man's perspective. So, Mr. Maurice, say hi to the people.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Hello.
Yes. Thank you for coming on to Divas and Ducats, right? So let's get into some of these questions for the people. So the first question, of course, how long have you been married?
Well, this will be our 9th year. So I've been married right now 8 years. We were married on August the 18th in 2012.
Okay.
So
2012 was a good year.
Our 9th year of marriage. So we're approaching 10 years very soon.
That is so cool. A decade.
Yeah.
As they say, y'all got past the 7-year itch.
Yeah.
There wasn't an itch.
I love it. There was no itch for you. I love that. So, can you tell us, and do you have children?
We do. We have 3 kids. Actually, we have a 5-year-old. Our oldest just turned 5.
Oh, wow.
Our middle child is 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a baby this past July. So we have a 5-month-old who'll be 6 months in a couple of days.
Oh,
okay.
That's a fun.
Boys. 3 boys.
All boys.
3 whole boys.
So is the
Me
queen.
and my brother are the only 2 in my family. I don't have a lot of girls on my dad's side.
Okay.
There's 12 of them.
Wow.
10 of them are boys. And so right now all I have is boys. So I don't know how many girls I have.
That's really cool. I'm team boys, so I love boys. But I guess when there's not a lot of girls in your family, somebody wants the princess to come around.
My mom, absolutely.
Yeah.
Girl, he's one of the girls from the beginning, and then my brother just had a child, and he's having a boy. So.
Oh. We're gonna keep rooting for Mom. We're gonna keep rooting for her, see what happens. So one of the things that Quick and I talk about, and I think we differ a lot on the idea of dating potential, but one of the things that we have agreed on is defining potential. So first and foremost, I say dating potential is it's that you're not quite where you are or not quite where you want to be, but there's action behind it. To me, not being where you want to be and having these dreams and wishes are what I call a hobosexual, H-O-B as in boy, O. And that's, the people who just need somewhere to stay. They just kind of transient, figuring it out. Like, I'm never going to encourage someone to date a bum or hobosexual. But, potential to me, like I said, is just, you might not be where you want to be yet, but there's some action behind it. You can see him working on something. Or her working on something. So
we do agree on that term.
Yes. So with that said,
homosexual, oh my God.
So with that said, what does potential mean to you? Or when you were dating, like, what did that mean to you, I guess?
Not a thing.
Okay.
I never dated on potential.
I love it.
It never worked like that to me.
Okay.
Well, let me tell a story. So me and my wife actually, I just want to be candid with you all.
Mm-hmm.
We had connected initially. Mm-hmm. Now I'm dating myself a little bit. Through Black Planet.
Okay.
Years ago.
Yes.
Right. So I was in high school. She was in high school. You know, I'm a couple of years older.
Mm-hmm.
As far as grade is concerned. And so it never really materialized into anything. It was just somebody you were talking to across the internet. She was in High Point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from the city, from the coast.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of kept this connection. I mean, she went off to college. I did. We didn't really connect. And somewhere along the line, we became Facebook friends. You know, when Facebook originally started, it was a place where college students met.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I remember my undergrad was at East Carolina. I remember being at school and I can't wait till school gets on, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pop up on Facebook and you see your friends at other universities on Facebook. And then, I mean, that's kind of how we remain, I don't know, somehow connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't really start like talking or even like having a legitimate or realistic amount of conversation until 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was when I made the decision. I think at the time she was dating someone. I told her, I was like, you're not talking to you if you're dating someone.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the rule that I had.
Right.
I'm not going to talk to someone who's involved or who I perceive to be involved because, it's just something I didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And once that became clear, I said, well, I'll go see you. And when I went to see her and we connected, it was like, I told her I'm gonna keep it 100. You're one of the first people I've been around who I've stayed with an entire weekend. I did not feel the need to run.
Wow.
That's not what I thought you were gonna say.
Comfort level, but I also had to get to that place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't just her; it was also me. I think a lot of things had to fall into place with me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
At the time where I was able to be more open to a relationship, and I was ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
dating your process. So when it comes to potential, it's like I never really looked at it in a, I don't want to itemize another person.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't want to say, okay, you have this, and we check. Nah, I mean, everybody's different.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned, especially being married and being in a long relationship, a good marriage is that you'll do a lot of things you've never said you thought you'd do. You do a lot of things you say, well, I would do that. I wouldn't put up with no. I mean, these are people.
Right.
People change, and you have to communicate and you have to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, with my wife, it's I fell in love with her as a person, and I knew her as what she was, and so whatever came with that, I was willing to deal with. One of my good friends once told me, he was like, "There's all the good outweigh the bad." And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, it seems like a good situation that you might want to get yourself involved with." I was like, "You're right. I feel really good about this." So that's just how I approached it.
I like it.
I do too.
And so you were saying, like, when you met her, when y'all reconnected in 2010, you purposely, when you were dating her, like, it was to see if this is a potential wife situation. Like, it wasn't playing with her.
With that.
Okay.
But
wow.
I can only, like, if I I dated, so I dated a lot of people, and so my wife was the first girlfriend I had.
Okay.
And so if I did not see this, I knew, okay, this is not going anywhere. I'm not going to waste someone's time.
Right.
I'll be honest and open about it. And if you still wanted to kick it, that's a whole other thing.
Right.
But, I'm not going to, I had rules. And one of the things I said, I'm not going to waste anyone's time. I'm not going to be dishonest. And if, who I was involved with perceive me to be the bad guy, I'll just be the bad guy. But I'm not going to be someone who's stringing you along and break your heart because I believe that'll come back on me. So, with my wife, again, a lot of things that have fallen into place, man. I really believe that, in totality. But one of the things, when I met her, I was in New York in grad school. She was in grad school in South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Now, we were in two different places, but one of the things that grad school did for me is that I was surrounded by a lot of women. And it really opened my eyes to what you all go through, how you all experience the world, how you all, deal with different, issues or barriers, etc. Like I had friends who would talk to me about these things. So it really changed my perspective. And I think I say it helped me to be a better mate, and that it made me more sympathetic to the plight of women. Those friends that I have that I still have now, they're great women, but they really opened my eyes to some things. Now, I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for them, because how I approached my relationship with my wife was a lot different than how I did with previous people.
So in terms of approaching it, keeping in mind that you don't itemize and things like that, what qualities were you looking for, if any, in a mate?
Qualities? What? I can't even put it in terms of qualities, man. If she came to me and she, even if she was in grad school and she was working at Walmart, like, none of those things really mattered to me. And I say that because in our relationship, when you're married and when you've made that commitment, things change.
Okay.
People change, and you're not going to be the same person you were when you came in.
Right.
You're not the same beliefs, not going to have the same ideals, none of that. And so if I say, okay, you need to be this when I married you, 8 years later, you're going to be an entirely different person because you're in a different place in your life, especially when you had multiple kids.
Right.
So for me, it's like the thing that has kept us together is our friendship. And that's something that I really value. Like, we can be friends, we can be happy and enjoy one another without having to rely on romance or sex or those things that kind of ebb and flow with the relationship. Life happens.
Yeah.
I would say that the friendship for me was number one. And we're great friends, and none of that has changed. But life around us has changed so much. We both go through our, personal things. She does, I do. I know I have. And at times, one person may be able to carry the other person through that. But you have to be friends. You have to enjoy the other person in order to do that.
Right.
You can't do that, And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. Romance and sex will only carry you so far.
Right.
Yep. That's true.
Like, it'll get you to the door, but then what? When y'all sitting there, y'all alone, and you tired, then what? Like, what are you going to talk about? How are you going to experience one another? How are you going to support one another? What is your conversation?
Yeah.
Those are things that people don't really consider until, you confront it with them. It's like,
And so you're saying, like, when y'all, like you said, reconnected, you were in grad school and she was in grad school, but her being in grad school wasn't what attracted you to, like, it wasn't like, oh, I want a woman that, has a master's degree or, PhD, like that wasn't important to you. But was it something about her drive with her being in school that was attractive to you?
I'll say this. One of the things that stood out is that she would engage with me in conversation, right? I think a lot of times, and I'm the type of person, I can get to talking, I can get deep, I can say a whole lot of stuff in terms of conversation. And very often, I would feel like I'm talking to myself. With my wife, it's like, oh no, she's coming back at me.
Right.
She's giving me her opinion. She's giving me how she feels, and she doesn't necessarily have to agree with what I'm saying. I mean, even now, like a lot of things that she feels, I may not feel the same way, or we may not agree on it, or we'll get into it and then have to agree to disagree, or you know what? You see things your way, I see things my way. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But it also gives me a different perspective that I have to consider. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I value that as opposed to a lot of guys, one of the things I used to hear back in college was, oh man, this is a girl that you can be, you can, talk to, you can mold her and so on. I'm not trying to mold no woman. Are you serious? Like, no. Like, I want her to be her own person. I want her to have her own mind, her own, thoughts, her own ambitions, whatever. So I just want to be able to compliment that. And, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But,
yeah,
I want her to be an independent person. And I respect that about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, we were talking about the course of dating, but it just brought up a point when you were saying, like, not wanting to mold her and things like that. And I think that sometimes as women, we can mistake being, I guess the word, I hate using this because as black women, we're strong. We're strong. Yeah. But, I think sometimes we can teeter the line of being strong versus emasculating in terms of personality or how we present it. And so is there a difference, I guess, just from a male perspective, is there a difference to you in terms of being like maybe a strong personality or, like you said, kind of being given pushback versus that lane of like, this is kind of disrespectful? Yeah.
I mean, well, you got to look at things from a deeper perspective. When it comes to, like, my mom is a strong black woman. I'm saying, I'm not turned off by that. I'm not scared of that because that's what I grew up around. A lot of opinionated, strong, independent, black women. So for me, it was never something that intimidated me. In fact, I was more drawn to it, if anything.
Yeah.
But in terms of emasculation, like me and my wife have had these conversations, and one of the things I used to tell, I was like, I can go out into the world, I can go out to my job, whatever. I can hear all sorts of stuff. People can say all kinds of things to me, etc., whatever. The things that you say, only the things that you can say can hurt me. Like, only the things that you can say can cut me deep. Because I don't care what they say. I'm out here in the world. I know what it is to be a black man, to be a black person in society. When I come home, the things that you say can really cut me deep. And so that was my perspective. From her perspective, had to protect herself. You know what I'm saying? So she has to be more outspoken, be more, I hate to say strong because it's not necessarily, I don't view that in a sense of strength.
Right.
But I view it as more so as a defense mechanism because as a black woman, too often you're not heard.
Right.
You're ignored.
Yeah.
You're told you don't matter. And you have to use that voice to amplify yourself in order to be heard.
Right.
You see, all of those things go back to systemically how we were treated as a people.
Right.
And we have to be mindful of that. And that's why I think, Black love is such a revolutionary act because there's been so many different things in our past as a people to disrupt our family. So you always have to be mindful of that. So even when we get into it or, I may feel like she's being quote unquote emasculated, I gotta check myself. I gotta understand, okay, I know how I feel, but at the same time, let me look at this from a broader perspective. Why is she responding this way? What am I doing to make her feel this way? What is she experiencing as a black woman? Okay?
Yeah.
Because it's not just about, the racism and the racial microaggressions, etc., but it's being a woman, period. You're expected to carry so much, as a woman, and you're expected to manage the household. You know, my mother was the same way. And that's something as a man that I have to change my thinking about and try to be more accommodating to her and be more understanding. But at the same time, help manage the relationship. You
Right.
see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it can be. You can feel like, you know, a lot of times what your significant other may be saying or how she's, you know, responding may be emasculating. But you really have to think about where she's coming from and what that means in terms of your relationship. Now, I'm not saying to anybody to accept or, you know, to be tolerant of abuse. It's a different animal. But also know where it comes from. Too many times we don't want to be understanding. We, you know, want to say our piece and, you know, tell how we feel, etc., whatever. But all of these things come from somewhere. So, and me and my wife, again, we just had this conversation the other day. Like, I told her, I said, you know, I always try to have an understanding of where you're coming from when you say things, because not everything you say is in line with how you feel.
That's powerful.
And so she doesn't necessarily like that because she thinks I'm trying to get too deep or whatever. I'm trying to be a psychologist, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to figure it out. But I'm always playing the long game. I don't want these things to become reoccurring issues, or what can I do to try to, you know, help the situation along with. I know that you're tired, you know, she works a lot, or is a working bee. On top of being a very active mother, on top of being, you know, active in her community, she takes on a lot.
Yeah.
So if I come on and I know she's doing X, Y, Z, whatever, I also have to be mindful that when I say, hey, how you doing? She'll start popping off and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm tired.
You need a nap.
Sorry, you need a nap.
You're doing a lot. You tired. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so even though I might feel a certain type of way, it's like, it ain't always about me. We got 3 kids. You know what I mean?
And when you talk about children, like, was that a trait also that you looked at when you got married? Like, would she be a good mother? Like, were those things you were looking at?
I'll say this. One of the things that was number one on my list is, will she be able to have a good relationship with my family? And that has been no problem.
Right.
0 problem. She's very down to earth. I know how my family is. Not to say that they're like difficult or anything, but she's very personable and she can relate to, you know, my mom, my aunts, etc. And it's been no big deal. So that's one thing I would say. I would say that's something that was very high on my list, and, you know, there's been no issues on our part, on either part with that.
Just such a good flow. I'm like, I don't know what to answer. But okay, so just staying on because I like that, and the word that came to mind when we were talking about, you know, not really liking the word strong, the word that came to my mind is assertive. I think it's more so you have to assert yourself, right? So there's a word that could be triggering for some people. Submissive. And I think sometimes the word can be well, I think sometimes the way it's interpreted and the way that it's used by people who encourage submission is more so subservient. And I think that's why the word gets kind of like, So there's a lot of, you know, just a negative connotation behind that word. So what does, I guess, submission mean to you? And do you feel like you and your wife are submissive to each other, or kind of like, what does that look like or mean to you?
We don't operate, well, I can only speak for myself.
Okay.
So, I don't operate on submission.
Okay.
This is not a dictatorship. You know, it's a partnership. I don't need you to bow to me or submit to me. We have to communicate. We have to be on one accord, especially when you have kids. I'm telling you right now, I got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And what my 5-year-old is starting to do is, when he doesn't like what I say, go to his mama. and say, well, Daddy said this, Mama, I want this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have to both be on the same
One
page.
accord.
So it's not a matter of submission. It's like, okay, whatever your daddy said is what goes. So whatever your mother said, that's what goes.
Right.
We have to all be on the same accord.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of that submission talk, it comes from a traditional biblical place. But in I kind of related to, how I approach my community work. Like, I deal with people. You know what I'm saying? My wife is a person.
Yeah.
I don't expect this person to submit to me. She's a person. So someone that she's someone who's also here, to help and assist me,
Right.
and vice versa, this journey. So I approach it that way. It's not a matter of submission for me. But I will say this: understanding is very important.
Yeah.
You have to understand. Like, I'm not just talking about talking. I'm talking about listening. And having an understanding from where the other person's coming from.
Yeah.
And our issues, that is any issue we have had has been overcome because the other person has developed a deeper understanding from how they feel, where they're coming from. And it may take multiple times or multiple arguments or conversations for it to happen. It ain't gonna happen. Okay, well, let's sit down, let's iron this out this one time, and we'll get over it. Nah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may take multiple attempts, but understanding is key. Like, I try to understand. So
yeah, that's good.
And I don't always get it right. I don't.
Yeah.
As a man, I don't know what you all go through as women. You know what I'm saying? One thing I would say, women. I would say to women. We live in a different society now. You all are achieving at a different pace you were in previous decades, in previous years. And so when it comes to your relationships with men, I think that because a lot of women have, been more empowered, they expect men to understand that. I'm telling you right now, you don't.
Okay.
I say this as somebody who I think a lot of people would say, well, not a lot of people. My wife would say, well, he has some understanding. No, I'm a man. I have blind spots. And things, and then I say things. She'll be like, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, what you mean? But I have to, I'm learning as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with every man, he has to be able to listen and understand you as a woman. But don't expect him to know everything and be understanding of everything, because we all grew up. I'm 35 years old. Me and my wife, we both grew up in a very traditional household. So even like now, like for example, like I have no problem saying this. My wife is a college professor. I'm a teacher. She makes more than me, right? I have no issue with that. But we both grew up in families with traditional roles. And so while she may say that's no problem with me, that's not how you grew up.
Right.
You grew up a certain way.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to certain things, you expect the traditional roles you innately think those traditional roles are going to fall into place. And they don't.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we get into like arguments. So I'm like, look, I hear what you're saying, and I believe you want to believe what you're saying, but at the same time, we all grew up the same way.
Yeah.
Very traditional, very, okay, I'm the man, I'm the provider, you're the woman, you do this, right? But because for what you do, your time does not allow you to do a lot of things I feel like you may want to do instinctively as a maternal, as a maternal figure in our kids' lives.
Right.
So I have to pick up the slack. Even though it's not something naturally that I would do, but we gotta make compromises here.
Right.
And that's vice versa. I mean, there have been times where I've been like, you know what, I'm gonna get a second job. And it's like, well, if you get a second job, you'll be going from me or from the family 4 or 6 hours a day. Whereas I can do this and make twice as much money. So which one would you rather do? Which is more efficient for the family?
Right, right.
Well, yeah, I guess you should. So you may work more, and I have to be more involved as a parent or as a caretaker for our kids. Because that's what works.
Yeah.
But traditionally, it's not how we grew up.
Right.
So it's an adjustment. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't come natural.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes people think that because people's ideas are changing, we're going to meet somebody who's also changed with these ideas. And I'm like, you need to meet somebody who's willing to listen to you and evolve.
Right.
Because as a man, I'm telling you, as a man, we don't know, man. We have no idea what you all go through. Have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that you all, we have no idea. Even when it comes to like domestic violence and dare I say rape or certain things, I would say, I ain't never better do with rape nobody. That's probably not true. Because those guys are not going to be able to tell me or be open about those things that they've done.
Yeah.
And if they told me, it's like,
right.
Well, that's not cool. We got to handle this.
Yeah.
But as women, you know so many women who've gone through those different things. And so it's really a give and take. It's a blending process, and it takes a lot of understanding and patience for one another.
Yeah.
But you have to decide what you can and cannot deal with, and what's right, or what's not right for you.
Right. Yeah. And I was just gonna say, what I hear is a lot of you learning to be a supportive spouse from whatever angle that looks like for what works for your family. And so it was just a follow up that I thought about when you saying like, she's a college professor and you teach. Was there ever a point where, because you all met in grad school, in terms of like her career trajectory kind of taking off, and maybe, I don't know if yours was at the same rate or not, but if it wasn't, was there a point where that felt maybe off to you because of how you grew up as a man, or was that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel with that wholeheartedly. Because, like anybody else, you think by the time you reach a certain age, you're going to have all this figured out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You meet somebody, now you got to not only take into consideration, maybe I'm not there yet. Now I have to address how I get there with this person and what they're doing.
Yeah.
I was in a master's program. My wife was in a doctoral program. So when she came out, her trajectory was already basically planned. Yeah. Whereas I went to grad school, my first semester of grad school, after I graduated from undergrad, I tried to get jobs in journalism. Couldn't get them. Couldn't even get an interview. Right? So I started working in education because my mom is a teacher.
Okay.
That's what gave me education. So I worked in middle school. Love working with kids. Like absolutely loved it. Went to grad school. My intentions in grad school were to be a college professor. One of the things I did not like about grad school was academia and the politics behind it. It took me one semester to figure out, what? I'd much rather work with those kids. So when I met my wife, I told her, I was like, I want to be a teacher. I'm probably going to be a teacher. Maybe one day I'll be a principal. Maybe not. Yeah. But that's what I want to do. Now, if you with that, that's cool. If you're not, that's cool too. Right. Because you have every right to want whatever it is you want out of life. Yeah. And if you want certain things and you don't feel like that matches up what you want, you have that. That's your right. I can't get mad at that.
Yeah.
What was her response?
Was she there?
I mean, she clearly said yes, but what was that immediate response?
That I was open and upfront. And from her perspective, she was like, well, that's not what everything's about. Right. And so after that, it's kind of like we just took it one day at a time.
Yeah.
And do y'all get any like pushback outside? Because you said y'all both grew up in very traditional homes. Like, was there pushback outside, especially from your perspective, from the men in your family, or like, man, your wife?
From the men,
huh?
bad from the women.
Really?
Interesting.
One thing I would say this. I think that the women saw that maybe she like I said, she had her trajectory kind of planned out, and maybe my cousin, and maybe they thought there might have been a problem down the line. But I mean, that was something that I was willing to deal with.
Yeah.
If she was willing to work with me and be a partner, right? If she wasn't, again, I wasn't going to be mad. It would be fortunate.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it comes to dating, man, and this thing about dating, man, it's like batting practice. I always look at it as batting practice. Like, you're swinging and you're missing. Like, the whole point is to connect. If you connect, great. If you don't, you just keep swinging. And so one thing I had to realize is not to be offended or not take dating personal. Like, there's so many people that you meet from different walks of life, different places, whatever, and so much has to align to work.
Yeah.
It's not what you see on TV. What you see on TV is fake. It's so much different than that.
Yes.
It's not this, we just saw each other and met. Oh my God. It might happen like that for a week or two. But then reality kicks in and you got to kind of consider, okay, what's going on here? I mean, me and Mark are thousands of miles apart.
Yeah.
Right? I was in New York. She was in South Carolina.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So something had to give. With me and my situation, I knew, okay, well, I don't want to be a college professor, so I'm more willing to move. And I know that what you're doing, you're more satisfied, you're more, I guess, she was more secure, and her future was more structured as far as what it was. I knew what I wanted to do, but, different things. And then you get married, and it's like, okay, well, now it's time to make some money. So even then, initially, I didn't go into being a teacher. I went to nonprofit. And so I entered the nonprofit world, holding various positions, director this, director that, or whatever, But it wasn't for me.
Right.
And so once we moved back to North Carolina, that's when I made the switch to being a teacher. And I really, that's something that I realized that was my future, and that's how I built my career. That's something I built my career on.
Yeah.
But I had to get there, and she was, she had to be willing to help me see it through.
Yeah.
So be patient with me.
Yeah.
Like I just, went back to school, and instead of getting a master's in African Studies, I got a master's in teaching.
Yeah.
But I had to get there. A lot of people don't even know that I went to school and got. I don't tell people stuff I'm doing, but well, it's like, oh, you do this, okay? Well, yeah, it's great. Well, I had to get there.
Right.
People don't see that.
And so you moved down because you were saying that you decided to kind of move since you were dating and things were going in a certain way. I guess at what point or how soon did you know, like, okay, this is the person I'm going to marry?
She was worth moving all those miles for.
I knew that instantly. It didn't take me long to figure that out. And once I figured that out, it's like, well, a relationship progresses. It doesn't stand still. Like, so what's the step?
Yeah.
I wasn't the type of person where I'm like, well, we're just going to be boyfriend and girlfriend and cohabitate or extend this process. If the next step, if we both feel like we're someone that we want to see the next step of our life may be together, then we marry. Not waste time. So I think when relationships start standing still, that's when they start faltering.
Good
like,
point of view.
If you see somebody, like, go.
Right.
Like,
what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, but again, I also was at a place where I was like, you know what? If she just up and leaves me and just completely breaks my heart, I got to be willing to be okay with that. A lot of people aren't okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're scared.
Yeah.
So how long did it take
like just go like how long did it take you from the time that you knew to the time you actually proposed?
Okay, so maybe a year.
Okay. You just
Yeah,
went.
let me see. Yeah, I proposed. Let me see. We started dating in 2010. I proposed in 2011. We got married in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't take too long.
Yeah,
You know.
not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said earlier, in the beginning, you were like, when you approached her, you know, you had dated, but you knew when you approached her, you like courted her differently or dated her differently. Like, what did that look like? Like, what was the difference?
She was somebody that I can enjoy things with
Mm-hmm.
without pressure. Um, and I don't even know if that was us necessarily or was the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when we first started dating,
Mm-hmm.
there was no awkward phase.
Mm.
There was no, you know, a lot of times when you meet someone, you start dating, you start posturing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
A
Right.
representative.
Well, he don't need. I don't need to seem like this, or she don't need to see me this way, or I don't need to. I don't want to seem needy, so I'm gonna wait till I text her, or I'm gonna wait till
Right.
we
Oh,
call.
yes.
All the
You know,
games.
all that dumb stuff. Like,
Yes.
nah, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is. So if you with it, you with it. If you're not, you're not. But I was not at a place where I was gonna do all that. Like,
Yeah.
if that's what it was, then let's see where it goes. And if it does it, fine. Be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal. I'm serious because people would take a lot of their dating experiences so personal. It's
Yeah.
like all of y'all is just y'all are different souls trying to find one another.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. That's so simple and yet so
I
eloquent.
know. I know. I know.
But it's so much that has to happen for that to work.
Yeah. Exactly.
Timing is important.
Timing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, like where you are in life.
Mm-hmm.
I say to my wife, in college, we really weren't very far from one another.
Mm-hmm.
And in retrospect, because I like to party and get around, we were in the same place and we didn't know it at the time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, if I met you then, this wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Man.
Knowing me then and knowing you then, nah.
Right.
Yep. That's true. Timing's everything.
Yeah.
But different time, different place,
Mm-hmm.
with different people. And again, after you get married, you don't stay the same person.
Mm-hmm.
You also keep evolving and become different people. And the key is to stay in tune with whoever that other person is becoming.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're changing or they're being this person, okay, well, tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know. Let me get in your world and what's going on, and how you feel, and why you think this now, why you don't like. So I'm aware, and we can stay in tune with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Don't that people grow apart that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to keep the person that they're married to the same person as they dated and not letting people
Can't
evolve.
happen. No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If she was the same person I met 8 years ago, that's a problem.
That part.
I mean,
Totally agree.
that's
I
true.
totally agree.
Like, you didn't do anything for the last 10 years. The same person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I tell her, and I also say that I told her from John, I was like, look, every 5 years, that might be a different person.
Mm.
I'm not going to stay me, but I will evolve into, different beliefs, different ideas, etc., whatever.
Yeah.
And so I do want to keep you in the loop when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Mm-hmm.
And so when you got married, you feel like, because you were saying like you had to do some work on yourself and things, had to come into play. Like, can you talk about some of that work or some of the things that had to change for you to be ready to marry?
I had to be ready to be friends with women.
Okay.
I had to understand women, like, no, for real, because somebody was telling me, you're a very man's man.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a guy. So I had to be more understanding and patient with women.
Mm-hmm.
I did not understand them to that point.
Right.
And that had to happen in order for me to be able to love and be involved with my wife as I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, I'd be too impatient.
Mm-hmm.
Like, before, I was too caught up in myself.
Mm.
Okay.
And that's easy to do when you're a single person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a relationship is not about you; it's about someone else. And when you consider that someone else is a different gender than you, and and they have an entirely different experience as you do, and you have to step back and really challenge all the things that you believe and be more open to what that other person is saying or experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. I just thought about the, I guess it, in conceptually, the 80-20 thing, I get what the point is. Mm-hmm. But, so the first time I saw it was, of course, in like, Why Did I Get Married? And they talk about the rules. So the concept of, some men and women have that unicorn list of everything they want in a partner. And the concept is essentially you typically get 80% of what you maybe wanted. Hopefully it's all the things you needed. Right. And maybe that 20%, not so much. Mm-hmm. And so like maybe the 80% is, I don't know, they're a good mother, things like that. And maybe the 20 is something like, I don't know, you preferred a certain height, for example. So, did you feel...
Listen. My wife is the youngest person I've ever dated.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mind, she's only 2 years younger than me. Before, I never dated anybody that was that much younger than me. Either they were older than me.
You like the cougar.
Or my age.
Cougar.
No, for the shortest person I've ever dated.
Okay.
Like, no, man, it doesn't matter. Like, no.
Say that.
You can't itemize people.
Right.
Well.
Right? Everybody is their own individual experience.
Mm.
And you got to take them as the package that they are.
I like it. I'm an experience.
It's not a transaction. If you base your relationship on a transaction, then your relationship is going to have a transactional feel to it.
Hmm.
And so I never took it as, oh, she has this.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. How do you make me feel?
Mm.
How do I experience you? Like, how do we get along? How do we solve our differences? Like, how do we connect? When things go wrong, can we come back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So important.
So you need to be able to see somebody at their worst, or if they're angriest or whatever. Like, you need to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you come back from that, like, is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are people,
yeah.
and everybody comes with their own set of issues, their own trauma, their own experiences. Things that you don't see when you're dating.
Mm-hmm.
But things, and even as young adults, like a lot of things, and my wife saw me through an evolution where I had to overcome depression.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't because of her.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because of things that I experienced, when I was younger, that were meshing with how I was feeling as a man, me getting older, being a black man in America, and trying to reconcile everything.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you take all that into consideration, it's like you have to love that person to be able to see them do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, you have to be appreciative of someone who helps you see that too. Mm-hmm. Because there's going to be a time when you're going to have to do the same thing. Yeah. And you can't turn your back on the person that helped you through it.
Right.
It don't work like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, again, we're people. Everybody's an individual. Everybody's going through stuff. And so, like, whereas, I may experience that before. It's like, my wife, she experiences stuff all the time. She's a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Childbirth is an experience.
Right.
So, us having children wasn't, you're pregnant. Sort of thing. It's like, okay, how do we need to approach this?
Right.
How can I make this easier for the both of us?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need? Let's watch this documentary. Let's go to this class.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be there. Tell me what you need. How do you want me to communicate with the nurses, etc. Like all of those, like you have to be there for one another.
Yeah.
And it's a choice that you make.
It is a choice.
And then it ain't always about a feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a choice that you make. You got to choose, the right decision. It's easy to walk away from it. And people think, oh, well, I'm not feeling it today, so maybe it's today. Cool.
I'm not feeling it today.
Yeah, you're not feeling it today. Okay. So our feelings can lie to us.
Right.
This is true.
So you got to also take into consideration with reality. But with me and my wife, it's like, the way I feel, whatever she needs, I'm always going to put myself in a position to be someone who can assist her in that. And then she's always doing the same, vice versa. So it's a relationship. And when you have kids, it gets tougher. Kids don't bring you close together. That's a lie.
Thank you for letting them know.
The way you said it, though, you don't have to tell the people that it's a lie.
I mean, they should. Full disclaimer.
She added 3 people in the house. That's gonna keep us focused.
3 new people.
3 new whole. I say they're people.
Right.
All
whole personalities. Yes.
They're so different and need different things.
Yeah.
And so you can get caught up in being a dad or being a mom and take your attention away from the person who brought you there in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
So you gotta be mindful of that. You gotta. It's rough. It's listen. Our society doesn't necessarily put us in positions to be great lovers and parents. Whatever. We live in a capitalist society that extracts work from people.
Yep.
I love work. So you gotta advocate that.
Yeah. That's so true.
You gotta. Even now, I mean, we got 3 kids. It's like, when I get off, I go upstairs and talk to my wife. She's tired.
Right.
Right now, she's dealing with 3 kids on her by herself.
Yeah.
I'll be able to be like, yeah, we talked about this, that.
She gonna be looking like, okay.
She could be like, look, take him, put him to sleep.
Right. And that's the reality.
Tell her we said thank you. We appreciate it.
I can't be all, you ain't
right. You didn't listen to me.
No, because, it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to relationships, man, people need to realize, number 1, it's not about you. Number 2, everything is give and take. You have to give, you have to receive, you have to evolve. You have to be open. And so for me and my relationship, it's like, it's not perfect, but I always try to shake myself and make sure that I'm doing my part. So on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's hard, man. One thing I would hate to do now is to be single. Ooh, Lord.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Totally agree.
Because the internet makes it tough.
Yeah.
Well,
I do. I think the internet makes it tough.
You can't replace physical interaction with a profile.
Right.
When I still dated my wife, it's like we go out, me and my home, we go out, we talk, we holler at girls. We exchange numbers. It's like, I have to see you, I have to talk to you, experience you before I even decide that I want to even be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And now more so with how everything is based on social media and so on and so forth. Everybody wants to put forth an image, which makes things more convoluted.
The best image.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not you.
Yeah.
And it just makes it easy to be impersonal. Yeah.
And I think it's also hard because you want to put forth that best image, but then at the same time want to get mad when a person doesn't accept. You're not accepting me for who I am. But that's you showed me the supermodel. That's what I want. Don't get mad at me.
I feel defrauded
because you really like to be in pajamas.
That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not even mad at that.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to promote themselves, even if you're not even in a dating aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you look at it in terms of having a profile market, everybody's trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Whether it's a look, a style, an image, an ideology, whatever. Everybody's trying to sell you something. That's why I said I would hate to be there, because it's so, you got to sift through so much to find out who you're living with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get to a person, it's like, well, this is not who I thought that was.
Well,
But you don't want to put yourself in a compromising situation just to get there either.
Yeah.
I mean, the marathon continues.
Again, that's something as a man I knew nothing about. But safety, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that kind of brings us, to kind of like our final question, because you were just mentioning like compromise and saying, well, that's, not what I thought I was getting, when you show it through social media, your profile, but even off of social media, we know you didn't have a checklist. Okay, you were very open and stuff, but do you feel like there were areas that you had to compromise in order to be able to get the love of your life? Like,
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if I had to like break everything down, yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like I was compromising. It's like, okay, well, if this is what you want and this is what you want to do, I'm willing to support you and be there.
Right.
That's just a decision. Like, I didn't feel like I'm compromising. It's like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Right. Right.
And so I'll put, like, for example, I would probably, I know it isn't a problem. I'll be much more active in my community work, much more out there than I am now.
Right.
But my wife's schedule doesn't allow, and the amount of kids that I have don't allow me to do that. I got 3 toddlers. Listen, these people can't take care of themselves. They can't feed themselves. They can't change their diapers. Like, one of them does it. He doesn't poop on himself. The other 2 do. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. But if she wasn't here, I know I would be out there. But I also know, knowing me, I don't know what else I'd be doing too.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's give and take.
Yeah.
She's also keeping me closer to my family, whereas I probably be out there putting everything on the line, because I know how I am.
Right. Right.
But I also appreciate the fact that I have a family.
Yeah.
And now that, I'm 35 years old, like Hank Aaron passed today. The first thing I thought about was the fact that he lived to 86. Most black men don't live that long.
Right. Right.
Those are things that now I'm thinking about, because I have 3 boys and a wife.
Yeah.
Not only do I want to live long enough to, just to be with my wife, but I want to live long enough to be able to see my kids through and make sure that they are the people that they need to be.
Right.
To be successful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I could say, you know what? If she won't doing all this, whatever. But it's give and take. I think when I'll say this, it's her time to do her thing.
Season.
And I gotta give her space. Yeah, so it's season. There you go. It's a season. I gotta respect that. And I tell her all the time. I was like, mine's gonna come.
Yeah.
And when it does, I need you to fall back.
Right. This is so true.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anything that would indicate that she wouldn't.
Right.
So.
Right. And I think that's important too, to see in a partner, like you said, knowing it's not just about me, because you could very selfishly be like, I want to do community service now, so you need to figure it out with your kids, and it doesn't lead to a healthy partnership. You're in a partnership, so like you said, it's her season right now. You letting her shine, and I think that's so beautiful. The way you support her in that way.
She just got a huge grant. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but she's something incredible. I'm like, go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna come away with that.
Yeah.
ain't about me. Like, do your thing. I love it.
Yeah, and especially because based off, what you were saying of your partnership, it's not like this is her season and she's being a butthole about it,
right?
Or being like, I'm doing this. What it's so reciprocal. It's such a.
I'm gonna speak up. I
don't get it twisted. I'm a man.
Like, my wife is very type A.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think. Oh, well, not a lot of people. People think that, oh, she's type A. How do you manage that? I'm like, well, listen. I may seem chill.
Right.
But when I don't need to be, I'm not.
Right.
So I have to also, assert myself as well. And those are things that you learn.
Yeah.
You got to learn other people and how to respond to other people. Like, it's no different than, I can talk sternly to my 5-year-old and he'll just
crumble. Right.
Yeah.
And I pop my 3-year-old and I'm like, do you want a butt pop? He's like, yes. This ain't gonna work.
Right.
So, I gotta talk to you different. I probably have to be more encouraging of you.
About that life.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, he is all about that life.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we truly thank you for your time. This was, I'm ready for the benediction.
I know.
It was very rich, and it was just such a different perspective, right? Especially just your thoughts on things in terms of, even things we've talked about with potential and the list and all of that. So we really appreciate just such a unique perspective and your words and thoughts during this time. And, if you like, no pressure, do you want to tell the people where they can find you for if you want to do your community activities or?
Listen, man, I don't know. You can find me. I think my Instagram is at Black Man Rising Up. And my Twitter is _ Black Man Rising Up. So.
And we will definitely have that information in our show notes for the people.
Yes, yeah. I will make sure I pass that information along.
Yes.
And so we'll have our last closeout question. We often hear that men say, my wife made me better in those speeches and those vows. How did you make your wife better?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think for me, I challenge her all the time. One of the things about my wife is that, she's a very assertive person and she's very vocal. And I challenge her on that every day.
Yeah.
And I don't have any. I challenge anybody. So that's first and foremost. That's just me as a person.
Right.
I don't have any problem saying how I feel, speaking my piece. And so I think that for her, that's something that she can get with because it always causes her to think and consider. And so I've seen how she's changed.
Yeah.
I've seen how I've affected that and vice versa. And that's something I don't think will change in either of us. So
that's awesome.
It is.
All right, well, D&D fam, we had such rich material that we do not have time for a diva letter, Dear Diva. But if you have questions, comments, or concerns that you would like to have possibly read on the episode, you can email us at divaadvice@gmail.com. That is divaadvice@gmail.com.
Diva Advice.
Yes. And in the meantime, you can follow us. We're on Facebook and Instagram, Divas and Ducats. If you're watching now, we're on YouTube as well. So like and subscribe, Divas and Ducats.
Like and subscribe. And we appreciate y'all guys. And like we said, in the meantime, in between time, have a great attitude.
All right, bye.